obeying my heavenly friend, resting in Jesus my Lord.
Hi, this is Ricky Burse, Executive Director at New Pathways for Children. Welcome to our program. New Pathways is a faith-based, nonprofit agency licensed by the state of Kentucky for child care. At New Pathways, we take children who are living in crisis and bring them into a safe and secure environment in order to provide for their basic needs like food, clothing, shelter, but most importantly, we provide emotional and spiritual support. Thank you for joining us. And I want to welcome our first guest today. You might see a resemblance when you see his picture, but it's my dad, Glenn Burse. Welcome, Dad.
Thank you.
It's good to have you here with us. And tell us just a little bit about yourself and your history, and particularly how it relates to child care.
Well, I've always had an interest in children, and I think it shows even in my graduate work, my college work. My undergraduate degree is in education. I thought that I would get a degree in education, go out and get a job teaching school somewhere, or perhaps becoming a counselor and wind up coaching baseball or basketball. But that didn't work out exactly like that. After I finished my master's degree, which was in counseling, I took a job in a psychiatric hospital. I kind of had my eyes on being the head of the children's department at the psychiatric hospital, but that didn't work out exactly as I thought it might. But a couple of years later, the community where I was at the time in Tennessee started a 5-county mental health center. And I was invited to become the first executive director of that mental health center. And one of the components of that program was a children and youth program. Of course, it was community-based. We did a lot of prevention activities in the schools. We did a lot of early intervention, alcohol and drug services, as well as providing outpatient counseling for the kids there in those 5 counties. I stayed there quite a while. I'm sure that you remember when I worked for that organization, and that kind of led me to the next step of getting directly involved in residential child care.
Yeah. And that initial involvement in child care was at an agency over in Tennessee, and it's an interesting history between your work there and the forming of what initially was West Kentucky Children's Home that later became New Pathways. So tell us a little bit about how that worked.
Yeah. Well, after spending about 18 years in mental health services, I was asked to visit Tennessee Children's Home over in Spring Hill, Tennessee. And that led to my appointment as the president of Tennessee Children's Home. And you probably remember visiting there when I first began the work there, and on many other occasions as well.
I do.
But I had a very good work there, and had a very progressive work with Tennessee Children's Home. And one of the things that the Tennessee Children's Home was known for was helping other agencies, helping other parts of the state or the other states that surround Tennessee. And in 1990, there was an opportunity that the Tennessee Children's Home had to help the people of Western Kentucky start a child care agency. And that's when I went to work there in 1990. And so I was there for the early beginnings of the West Kentucky Children's Home.
Yep. And New Pathways had its beginning in 1990, which is a number of years ago, and it's been operating since, taking care of children at that beginning, what was the real vision that the folks in Western Kentucky had for children and for New Pathways?
Well, I think the vision back then was the same as it is now. The vision was to reach out to hurting children, children who needed a safe place that could be brought into a residential program, and all of the necessities could be provided for them. But in addition to the necessities, there would be a component where their emotional needs would be met, their social needs, as well as the spiritual needs.
Yeah. Now, in Western Kentucky, there was actually a predecessor to New Pathways over in the Reedland community. Talk about that for just a minute.
Yeah, Rick, back in the 1970s and 80s, several churches started children's homes. Usually a church would set up a group home, and they would bring into their group home 6 or 8 children, and the church would provide for them, providing house parents and other people to help out. And one of the churches in Western Kentucky that did that was the Reedland Church of Christ. Mm-hmm. And actually, when we started the program up here, the Reedland Church of Christ was very supportive, and we wound up using the house that they had used for a number of years as a group home, and never paid them anything for using it. And eventually the Reedland Church donated that group home to the West Kentucky Children's Home, which of course was earlier, later known as New Pathways.
Yeah. So really there's a much longer history to New Pathways if you go back with that connection with Reedland and the work that they were doing, and how they allowed their work really to just dovetail into the new beginning at New Pathways.
Yes.
Since 1990, how many children would you guess have been served at New Pathways?
Oh, hundreds, perhaps even thousands. I don't know that we would have an accurate number. We probably could resurrect that somehow, but many, many children. As you know, when I was here serving as executive director, there were times when we had as many as 35 or 37 children on a daily basis.
Yeah. Now, you mentioned that you served as executive director. What years were you at New Pathways?
Well, I came here in October of 2010, and of course stayed here for about 4 years. I believe your appointment was effective April the 1st, 2013. And so I served 3.5 years, I guess, as the executive director.
Yeah, and not bragging, but it was good service and meant a lot to the agency. We're going to be back in just a few minutes with another guest for a short segment, and then we'll come back after that and talk to Dad some more about the history of child care in Western Kentucky.
Trusting, obeying my heavenly Father, resting in Jesus my Lord.
Welcome back. We have another guest with us now, Stephanie Moss, who is our fundraising coordinator at New Pathways. Welcome, Stephanie.
Thanks.
So, Thanksgiving, Cyber Monday, there's a new thing called Giving Tuesday. What's that all about?
Well, like you said, Giving Tuesday is the Tuesday after Thanksgiving, and it follows Small Business Saturday, of course Black Friday, and Cyber Monday. And it's a day set aside to give back to others. So this year it's going to be December 2nd.
Great. So how did all this come about? Whose idea was it?
Well, it started 3 years ago in 2012, and there was a group of nonprofit leaders from the 92nd Street Y in Manhattan, and they came together, had this idea of setting aside a day to give, and they just brought together different founding partners like the United Nations, and they actually had over 2,500 organizations participate in Giving Tuesday that first year. Last year, the second year, they had over 7,000 organizations participate, and they all had the same vision that they wanted people to come together on one day and kind of launch the whole holiday season in a spirit of giving back to charities and to people in need and participating in charitable events. So,
sounds like it's been very successful.
Yeah, it has been.
Yeah, great. So how, with all of the things going on around Thanksgiving, the other activities, how has that affected the holiday season?
Well, it's really impacted the online giving. We've seen an almost 50% increase in online giving since the first year of Giving Tuesday, and it makes it a lot simpler for people who want to give. You know, instead of mailing a check, you can save a tree, save a stamp. You can just sit in the convenience of your own home, and you can go online and you can give. So that's one way that's really been impacted by Giving Tuesday.
So you've got Thanksgiving Day, you've got Black Friday, Small Business Saturday, Cyber Monday, and now Giving Tuesday. All the other focus has been on things where people have been spending, but this focus is on people helping others and giving. Well, of course, at New Pathways, we're always looking for people to support us and to give to our ministry. So what would you say to somebody to help convince them to support and give to New Pathways on Giving Tuesday?
Well, I think the spirit of the holiday season is to be generous and to give to others, and people want to give. And when I think about Christmas time, I think about kids, and I think about, you know, getting to decorate the Christmas tree and eat Christmas cookies and all the presents under the tree. And it really does break my heart to think about the kids who don't get to experience that for Christmas. A lot of the kids that we care for at New Pathways come from families who are in crisis situations, and they're in survival mode. They just get by day to day if they can, and they don't get to experience all of those extra little things that a lot of kids, you know, do get to experience, and what every mom wants their kids to be able to enjoy. So, you know, at New Pathways, we do provide for all the basic needs of our kids. We give them shelter and food and clothing, and we have a great group of volunteers and staff who care for them. But we also want to give them a memorable Christmas. So we're asking people to help stuff the stockings of our kids and be a part of giving back to New Pathways this holiday season. And there's several different ways that people can do that. You can donate online. You can visit our website, npfc.net, and if you click on the donate button, you can give a one-time donation, or you can sign up to be one of our monthly partners. We definitely appreciate the donations all year round. And you can also give in-kind donations. So if you'd like to help us by donating gifts or things that might help the kids, like clothing, we'd appreciate that. And you can even organize a donations drive if you'd like to, by collecting gifts or canned foods, clothing, things like that. We'd love to help you do that. And then one of the things, of course, that makes Giving Tuesday so successful is social media. And if you follow us on Facebook or Twitter and visit us on our website, sign up for our email newsletter, you can stay connected with us. And if you see something you like, share it with others, share it with your friends and followers, and just stay connected with us. So we'd appreciate anything that anyone can do.
Yeah, great. Well, New Pathways does rely on supporters, and Giving Tuesday is a great opportunity for more people to get connected with us. So real quickly, one more time, give everybody the email address.
Sure. You can go online, npfc.net is our website. If you have any questions, please don't hesitate to email me at smoss@npfc.net. And we'd be happy to hear from you.
Yeah, great. Stephanie, thanks for being with us. That's Giving Tuesday, so if you have an opportunity to go to our website, npfc.net, go to our Facebook page and like that, and help us to help children. Welcome back. We're with our guest, former Executive Director of New Pathways for Children, Glenn Burse, who I'm proud to say is my dad. We're going to talk just a minute about a really neat, interesting history of child care in Western Kentucky. Before we do that, I just wanted to mention you also were very instrumental in establishing a work for children in another country. Mention that and tell our viewers briefly about that.
Well, that was an interesting turn of events. As I was leaving the Tennessee Children's Home, some missionaries from Guyana, South America, came to visit me on campus there in Spring Hill one day and asked if the Tennessee Children's Home might be interested in sponsoring a children's home in Guyana. I took that to the board of directors, I guess maybe 6 months before I left the Tennessee Children's Home, and I was not able to convince them that that was something that we ought to do, although I felt very strongly that it was a great work and something that the Children's Home ought to do. But I was not able to convince the trustees of that. And so my time there expired and I went on to other work, and a little bit after I had left the Tennessee Children's Home, they came back to see me and asked if there was some way I could help, since I'd had experience in operating a children's home. And long story short, yeah, I was instrumental in number one, raising the funds.
Yeah.
And I think that was their primary interest in approaching me. They knew that as head of an agency, as you know, it's pretty well required that the head of the agency do a lot of fundraising. And so I agreed to go down to Guyana and look at the possibilities, and wound up raising all of the funds to build a children's home in Guyana. And fortunately, I've been able to go down and see the program, and it's been a very, very successful program. They take care of, we built a children's home down there to take care of 24 kids. And in the first year, the home was taking care of 40 kids. And every year since, I think that was in about 2000 that the home was built. And every year since then, they have had maximum capacity almost all of the time.
Yeah, and that home's still there, Hope Children's Home in Guyana, South America, and I visited there, and it's heartwarming to see those little children, because you know they'd be out on the street somewhere if they weren't living in the home.
Yes.
Let's talk again about Western Kentucky, because back in the late 30s, out in the Bell City area, there was a children's home that was begun there. Talk a little bit about that. I know you have some familiarity with that.
Well, I was very fortunate back in, I believe, about 1966 to visit the Paradise Friendly Home and to become acquainted with Mr. Leslie Murdoch, who founded the home and who operated the home from about 1938 until about 1976, when his health was so bad that he had to close the home. During that time, about 500 kids went through that home. There were times when he had as many as 70 kids living in the home out there at Bell City.
Wow. That's amazing. And my understanding is that the way that that children's home had its beginning is that a young man who had no place to live came to Mr. Murdoch, knocked on his door, and just said, "I have no place to go and I'm looking for a place. Can you help me?" And Mr. Murdoch and his wife said, "Sure," and they took that young man in, and then after that began to take girls and boys both.
Right. Yeah, and wound up building a girls' house, a boys' house, and also a gym for the kids, and had a very nice campus. And some of the buildings are still standing there in Graves County now.
Yeah. That's so interesting. Now, you had an opportunity, you said, to meet Mr. Murdoch.
I did.
What was it that motivated him and his wife to do what they did?
I just think it was he and his wife were real good Christian people, and I think he just felt that it was his responsibility and his duty to reach out to children that did not have the benefit of a parent.
Yeah. And many, many children, as you said, somewhere around 500, were blessed by the work that the Murdochs did, by their taking them in and caring for them. Now, I know that he lived on a farm. What were some of the things that you remember either seeing from your visits or hearing about that the children did as they grew up there?
Yeah. Well, I had an opportunity to visit with Mr. Murdoch and Mrs. Murdoch back about 1966. And as a matter of fact, you went to that home at the time. You were about 7 years of age at the time. And we went over and played a little softball with the boys and girls, and went to the gym and played with them, had a picnic with them, and carried them canned food items and other food items to help Mr. Murdoch in his program. But he ran a farm. He had cows and hogs, and he had row crop, and he believed in requiring the boys and the girls to work. The girls did a lot of the cooking and cleaning. The boys worked outside on the farm.
Yeah. And I'm sure it probably didn't hurt any of them.
It didn't hurt them.
That's good. That's so interesting to me to know about that long history of his work in Western Kentucky, and then about the time his work was ending, the Reedland Church was beginning their work for a couple of decades, and then New Pathways started in 1990, and we continue. So there's been a long history of people in Western Kentucky who've been interested in children, who care about children, and I'm guessing motivated by compassion and love for children that they've seen suffering.
You know, God always raises up people that will meet the need. And down through the years, He has provided leaders who will step up and take care of the children that need help.
Yeah. You know, of course you know this, but for the benefit of our listeners, our mission at New Pathways is to provide for the physical, social, emotional, and spiritual needs of at-risk children in a Christ-like atmosphere. New Pathways, building on that legacy of the Murdochs and also the work over at Reedland, is a faith-based ministry, a faith-based nonprofit. So everything we do is guided by principles that we believe are important, that God has set in place to help instill in the lives of children.
Absolutely. And you know, it is because we believe in those principles that we ask other people to help. We depend entirely now, and incidentally, congratulations to you and the Board of Directors for a successful transition from a state-supported child care agency to a privately supported agency. I was over on your campus today and saw the 6 children living in one of the group homes, and precious children. But it's because of those principles that we operate from that we ask churches and individuals and businesses to help us provide for these children.
Yeah. Well, thank you for that nice compliment. And I believe the same thing. I believe that it's those principles and those values that do appeal to people around us as they see that we're helping children not only learn basic skills for living, but also instilling in them some higher principles that will make them good citizens of our community and productive citizens, and the kind of people that employers want to hire, and the kind of people that others want to be around or be friends with, and have them to be a part of their life. You mentioned our campus. We're very blessed to have a beautiful campus located in northwest Graves County. It's seated on 27 acres, and we have houses there, recreational building, also our office building. And in the next program, Dad is actually going to come back for our next program, and we're going to talk a little more specifically about some particular donors who really helped put New Pathways on a solid foundation and who have been important partners. And we're going to talk about some of the things that have happened over the last 24 years, specifically in our work at New Pathways. Remember, there are a lot of children who are living in crisis situations all around us, and our work at New Pathways is a desire to help remove them from those crises and give them a better life, better opportunity, and most importantly, to instill within them spiritual values. Thank you for joining us, and I'll look forward to seeing you next time.